Welcome to Mum Abroad's YouTube channel, where I'm joined today by Joyce Tabbal. She's a qualified language teacher and middle leader with experience in curriculum development. She has extensive experience in both academic and pastoral roles in the UK, the Middle East and Europe. Joyce is co-founder of 4932, a consultancy for international teacher recruitment. She's based in Italy and recruits for schools all over Europe. Hi, Joyce.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me today, Joyce. You are first and foremost a language teacher. You teach French, Spanish, and Arabic, and clearly, as you're going to find out in this interview, you speak fluent English. So I wondered, where does your love of languages come from?
Well, I was very fortunate to grow up in a household where, we spoke two languages. I was born in Lebanon. I come from Lebanon, and I went to a French school, so I actually spoke French and Arabic right from the start. And when we moved to the UK, I picked up English, and I love learning languages. So every country we live in, I make it my mission to learn the local language. I've tried learning Czech when we lived in the Czech Republic, and it wasn't always very successful. I mean, I can use it very basically at a very basic level. But now that we live in Italy, obviously I've made it my mission to really learn Italian, and luckily I've been, more successful in learning Italian. But I just really love learning languages, and I also love grammar, which is not something that everyone can relate to, but I do love it. So yeah, that helps a lot.
You're very committed, Joyce, I know, to making a difference and enriching children's lives through your teaching. How are you able to do that with language teaching?
I think it's really important to insist with children how important it is to learn the language. And the younger they start, the better. Sometimes kids don't realize that, knowing another language can make a difference between, getting a job or not. And it is very important for children to also realize that, you can experience things differently when you speak another language. And more importantly is that they're able to learn other people's culture by learning their language. And I think this is absolutely vital. And, especially in the world we live in at the moment, it is, it's actually quite a small world, and we live in such an international space most of the time, and our kids are surrounded by different nationalities. I think they really need to, appreciate how important, speaking another language is. And it is, something that I really enjoy doing as a teacher, and I believe that hopefully it came across to my students at the time.
You have over 20 years experience teaching in international schools, and that's combined with your experience in curriculum development. And so this puts you in an ideal position to understand the needs of schools who are recruiting teachers, and teachers also who are looking for new positions. So how did the idea for 4932 come about?
Well, the idea came about during the very first lockdown. As you remember, Italy was the first country to be hit by COVID outside of China, and we were locked down. We just couldn't go out. We just had to be home all the time. And, during that time, we were thinking about, what's the best way to sort of give other teachers the opportunities that we've had as international teachers. So with other, teachers, with other head teachers, we were thinking, what's the best way to do this? And we thought, there's schools are very, very busy places. When it's recruitment time for them, when the time for recruitment comes, it's a very time-consuming process. And wouldn't it be great to have someone, who's already in the teaching industry, who can, give them the best, teachers, give them the best options during those very demanding times. And equally for teachers, teachers, when they're applying for jobs, it's again a very time-consuming process for them. They have to write, cover letters, do the application processes, which is obviously is very necessary. But when we get to know them, when we get to know, what their skills are and what they're looking for, and when they talk to us about their their experience. We get to put that across to the schools. So all of the teachers that apply through us are interviewed by a senior leader. We speak to them about, about teaching and learning. We obviously understand, what they're looking for in a school. So this is how really it all started, is that we just wanted to do things a bit differently. And, more importantly, we wanted to do it at a very affordable cost for schools, which is, something very important, because we believe schools, should have their budget spent on the children and on the teachers, on their own staff.
So you're a non-for-profit recruitment service for schools, and you're a free service for teachers. What made you decide to offer your services for free for teaching staff?
Well, teachers, I believe, should never have to pay for our services. I believe that using our own experience to share with other teachers there should not be a price on that. For us, we understand that teachers are the most valuable asset in schools, and they should be given the best opportunities really to put themselves forward in the best light. And we do help with CVs, we do help with cover letters if they ask us to. We basically represent the teachers, and we put them in front of schools when sometimes it's not so easy when they're applying through job boards, because I think the application process is been made so easy now that there's so many applicants sometimes that not everybody gets seen, whereas we make a point of getting the teachers seen in front of schools. And we work with our clients, which are the schools, and we say, look, we believe this teacher could really work well with your school because we've spoken to them. We know how they work. We believe they would be a great asset to your school. So it's all about the balance really of the teachers being put in front of the right schools for them. So, but we just decided that teachers should never pay for services. Some agencies charge, but quite a few don't actually. So, but it's important to say that to teachers because they never know otherwise. So it's very important to highlight that to them.
So just to understand, to make sure that I understand correctly, you actively look for teachers when a school comes to you needing to fill a position, but you also have teachers who approach you who are looking for potential positions. So it works both ways. And would you say that split is about 50-50, or is one more than the other?
Is it 50-50? I think it depends on the time of year. The schools go through recruitment cycles, and depending where the schools are based, their cycles vary. So now, for example, the recruitment in Europe is at its highest, and so at the moment we know we're being contacted by schools quite often, and whereas throughout the year we make a point of building relationships with teachers and trying to connect with teachers, and also teachers contact us. I think when teachers Google maybe recruitment agencies in Italy, I think we do come up because this is our address is in Italy. So teachers find us this way. We also have our own networks, having been teachers, we have our own networks of teachers. So sometimes, former colleagues will contact us. We've worked in several countries. So the teachers, we have networks pretty much, all over. And former colleagues contact us, or we are referred to from other teachers. And but also we sometimes advertise, and we get contacted through because the teachers apply for the jobs, and they find us this way as well. So there's several platforms where we can advertise, but also we have access to paid databases. So other than our own database, there are paid databases that we have access to. And then, we also reach out to teachers that way. So it depends on what job's being advertised. And it's very much like a puzzle sometimes, because you need, a secondary teacher that can teach this subject and not this subject. And they have to be in this, having these qualifications. So very much like a puzzle at times, it feels.
What about any mums who are watching this interview? Maybe that they're qualified teachers, they've taken time out to raise a family, and they now find themselves away from their home country. And maybe they're interested in teaching again, but they're not quite sure how to go about it, how to start that process. How can you help them?
Well, first thing to do is to get in touch with me. I'm always very happy to give advice. And like I said before, it's always free. Everything we do for teachers is free. So any mums out there who are interested in getting back into teaching will need to have a CV ready. And if they're not, confident about that CV, we can look together how we can, highlight their experiences and their qualifications. There are, also other available courses out there to get back into teaching if they need extra qualifications. It's also very important to say that when you are living in a foreign country, and it's if you are a qualified teacher, actually being in a school is really a great balancing act, because you can have the flexibility of working part-time, or definitely during school holidays you can be available for your family. And I believe it's a great way to to still have a career. And when you're living in another country, even if you don't speak the language, international schools will be in English if that's your first language. I mean, this is exactly what I did. When my husband moved for his job, I was able to get jobs in international schools, and luckily I was qualified and had the experience back in the UK, and then I was able to use that experience to adapt it in the country I'm living in. I mean, I'm a languages teacher, so when I was in Abu Dhabi, for example, I was able to use my skills of a languages teacher to work on the Arabic curriculum in the school with the Arabic department. And it was basically, using my former skills into a new, with a new language. And it was a fantastic experience for me. So there's different ways that you can work with schools, so there's always opportunities out there.
And so the important thing is to get in contact with you to find out about these opportunities, because you just don't know what's out there until you go out and start looking, do you? Or you ask an expert like yourself who has more insider knowledge, I guess. Presumably, if you're recruiting for international schools, you're often looking for native English speakers. Has Brexit affected the recruiting policy for schools within Europe?
It has been difficult for schools, absolutely. Schools very often are looking for teachers who are experienced in the national English national curriculum, and with experience of GCSEs, A levels, also the IB, and the teachers who have worked in the UK, their experience is really valuable to schools. And with Brexit, it's just caused a lot of difficulty for schools in terms of getting work visas. So it really depends on the time of the year. I think if everything's planned ahead, then schools have the time to apply for the visas for the teachers, and it's taking anywhere between 4 to 6 months, depending on the country and how efficiently the systems work. But generally speaking, it's a long process, and it's a process that the schools sort of generally have to also be involved in, because they, in a way, sponsoring the visas of the candidates. And so it has made it more difficult for schools, especially in Europe, absolutely. And so therefore, it is, if there is a network of teachers who are already in the country, then these teachers are very much in a very good position, because they could be stepping into a job literally within a few weeks, and they can just start straight away. So it's very important for people who are out there already working in Europe, who are looking for work, to sort of get in touch and say, let me know what vacancies there are. So yeah.
Joyce, what advice do you have for teachers thinking of applying for positions abroad for the first time?
So it's very important to do the research, in other words, do your homework. So teachers really need to find out what type of school they would like to work in. There are a variety of schools who, whether they are international, they are bilingual, or they're even local schools, it's important to know what type of school you want to work in. So whatever you do with your CV has to sort of be tailored to the job that you're applying to. So first, I think it's important to know what type of school. Also find out about the territory you're looking to work in, which country, and very importantly, then, with all that in mind, very importantly, get your CV up to date. Include, what qualifications you've got, but what experience you've had. Make it relevant to the job. This is really very important. And then, schools need to see that you've read the job description, that they're very clear about what the job is all about, what the position is about. And that is really important. So, and of course, if you get in touch with me, I'm always very happy to give advice. We often get contacted by teachers who are not necessarily applying for a particular job. They just want to find out, what are their chances, or, if there's anything available at the moment. And sometimes jobs are not advertised, but obviously, we will know about stuff that's happening that is not necessarily advertised. So it's always good to talk, is what I say.
And what should teachers be looking for in a school?
Right, this is a very important question. I think, it's very important that the school is well run, that is, the leadership team is looking out for its staff and offering, CPD, professional development, and also the teachers' mental health, how this is really important. Teachers have really been through such difficult times, as has everyone else, but they've carried on teaching online. They've had to adapt to a completely new situation, during this pandemic. And, it's very important to look after the teachers, and also obviously looking after the children, a school that puts the children's welfare above everything else, is also a very important criteria to look for. And I believe, proximity, maybe, think about how far away you want to be from your own country when you move internationally. Some teachers are very happy to move, thousands of kilometers away, and others would rather be, on a 2-hour flight away. So that's also very important, where the school is. And also the country that you're living in. I think it's super important to research the country. Yeah.
And Joyce, what would you say is the most rewarding part of your work?
For me, the most rewarding part is building relationships with teachers, with the schools. I think this is the most rewarding aspect, is whether we are able to find a job for everyone. I can't guarantee that. But if it's not this year, maybe next year, and staying, building that rapport with the teachers is super important. Equally with the schools, we need to understand what the schools are looking for, because each school's got either different curriculum or they're in a different country. So we need to understand exactly what they need. So it's really important to chat with them, to talk with the HR or with the head teacher or with the deputy head or whoever's in touch with us, and to continuously find out from them, get feedback from the schools. And I find this extremely rewarding. My education for us is the most important thing, and the people in the schools are, the people that matter the most, and whether they are the leaders or the teachers or both. So
it sounds like you're creating a really lovely community there. And I think it's really important to reiterate to people, anybody who's watching who is a teacher, that even if you don't have a job for them right now, to have a chat with you so that you get to know them. And then at some point in the future, you'll have them in the back of your mind, that if a job does come up that's suitable, you'll then get in contact with them. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I keep track of everything. So if someone next year says, if someone gets in touch this year and I know that next year there's a perfect position for them, I'll get in touch and say, look, remember, are you still looking? Or, are you interested in exploring this opportunity? Let me know. So yeah, it's the way forward, really. It's just to build those relationships and keep talking and collaborating. I also find collaboration is extremely important. I mean, there are other agencies doing the work that we're doing with the same values, and I think also collaborating with others is very, very important. And because you widen your pool, there's enough space for everyone, and agencies are recruiting in different parts of the world, and sometimes candidates go from one area to another, and collaborating with other agencies for me is equally important in this process.
So collaboration and communication. I'm going to put your website address at the bottom of the screen now. That's www.4932.com. People can have a look there and find out more about the services that you offer. That's schools and for teachers. And they will also find your contact details, so email address, and they'll also find your social media pages as well. So that just leaves for me to say thank you very much for joining me today, Joyce.
Thank you for this opportunity, Jane. I really appreciate it. And it's lovely chatting to you.